Hey guys, it's Leo with Dreaming Tree, and in this video we're going to show you how to put together these awesome lanterns from our Stingy Jack's Halloween Lantern SVG bundle. Now, I mean, take a look. These are just amazingly awesome, and there's 3 to choose from. Actually, in the bundle you get all 3, or you can buy them individually. I just want to talk about each one briefly. Now, this one here actually was based off of an actual vintage lantern that we found in a vintage Halloween memorabilia collector's book. So Kyle, my artist, actually took and just looking at it, was able to just reverse engineer it. And we've included this printable vellum with his original art on there. And of course, it's inspired from, vintage Halloween styles, but it is all hand-drawn and original, which really gives it a very unique and vintage look. So we've also devised a really cool little hanging method for the lantern, and of course this one, you can hang it if you'd like, and it has a flat base, so if you want, you can actually leave it on your table as well. Now, what we're actually planning on doing, and everyone will actually have access to this, is we're creating different panels for various holidays as well. So you get this lantern and you'll be able to make it up for other holidays like Christmas. We actually have a set of Christmas printable vinyl that you'll be able to use for this lantern specifically. So it's not just for Halloween. You can do this up in red. Actually, the first person that comes to mind for me is a friend of mine, Ron Gutman, who I know is going to take this and go crazy with it for Christmas as well. So I really look forward to seeing that, Ron. So we're going to show you how that goes together. Now, aside from black cardstock, we used absolutely 0 designer paper for this. Okay, so it's just pure black cardstock. Of course, you can use whatever you'd like, but we just decided to keep it classic and go with the nice black and orange look for Halloween. So that's the Stingy Jack's Lantern 1. Now let's take a look at number 2. And again, we've got nice original artwork all the way around. This one also has a little hanging mechanism. It's flat, so you can sit it on a table. And actually, one thing I forgot to mention about this one is we've also devised, and this is not original, but we've implemented a tabless system, or a glueless system, I should say, with little tabs that just kind of snap in to hold the top 2 hemispheres of this lantern together. So it's really cool. And we've also actually incorporated that into this design as well, so that if you want to, well, occasionally, you will need to replace the tea light, so you can just open it up. And that way, you've got designs all the way around without a hole, so basically you're maximizing the real estate on this lantern with actual designs instead of a little place where, you would stick your hand in to put the lantern in. So this lantern also includes a printable PDF file that will actually give you this look here of this gradient effect on the lantern itself. Now this is optional, you don't have to print this out, but I just think it looks a lot cooler if you do. So all you need is a regular printer and some vellum. You put the vellum in your printer, print it out, and then you cut it with some scissors and adhere it to the inside of the lantern, which we'll show you here in just a moment. But I really, really love this lantern. As you can see, you make a bunch of them and it's just looking really festive with very little effort. Okay, and finally, we have the Stingy Jack's Halloween Lantern number 3. And this one's a little more classic looking, almost gothic because of some of the accent pieces that we added on here. It's a really sinister looking skull up at the top, or some people may think it's an alien. I guess it's really subjective and up to you to decide what it is you see. And again, with this one, we've included printable vellum to give you that nice gradient effect, which I personally really love, because initially we tried this with tissue paper and it just didn't have the same look that I was aiming for and hoping for. So the printable vellum really gives this thing and takes it to the next level. So aside from black cardstock, some vellum, a printer, you're gonna need some twine if you plan on hanging the 2 lanterns that are hangable. And also, I'm gonna discuss this in more detail during the video, but we found this really cool remote control LED light. And you can actually change the colors of the light with the remote control, and it's super handy, especially for this guy here. If you don't want to keep opening and closing this thing to take the lantern or to take the light out and turn it off or on, you simply just pop it in there, hang this thing up for your party, put it on your table or whatever, and when you're done with it, you just hit the button and turn it off. And of course, again, you can change the color on it, and I'm so excited. I feel like a little kid in a candy shop looking at all these on the table here, and I'm really looking forward to using them in my upcoming Halloween party. So we've got all of our stuff, all of our pieces ready to go, and let's get started with the assembly of the first lantern. All right, so let's get started putting together the Stingy Jack's Halloween Lantern number 1. And this is what it will look like when you have it all put together. It's actually really cool, and it's based on a vintage design that we kind of brought back to life. So really quick, before we get started, I'm just gonna go over the pieces just to kind of get you up to speed with what everything is. And we're gonna start with just the real simple stuff, actually. These 2 little donut shapes are basically this little hanging mechanism that we developed. And you can see the little hole in there, okay? All you're gonna do is you're gonna glue these 2 pieces together, okay? And that just kind of creates a nice thick little donut shape. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your twine and determine how long you need it to be. Obviously, you always wanna cut it longer than you need it because you can't add to it once you've cut it. And you simply, once these are glued, you feed the twine through here, as so, tie a knot, okay? And then you can just go ahead and take that and feed it through, and that creates the little hanging mechanism, okay? So I just wanted to go over that because it's really simple, and actually, you know what, I didn't even have to glue it because obviously the tension there is kind of keeping it together, but you can glue it if you'd like. Okay, so that's that. We have these pieces here, okay, and these basically close off the top and the bottom of the lantern. Now, each of these is almost identical, except one of them is a little bit smaller. The larger one is the one that's going to be visible on the outside of the lantern, and the smaller one is going to go inside and is used as reinforcement, basically. Same thing applies to this one without the hole in it, okay? So we've got those pieces covered. Now, in addition to that, we have these panels, okay? And you can tell the difference between the panels that go on top and the panels that go on the bottom, because the panels that go on top have the little notch system kind of extending beyond the actual panel, and you've got this nice little scallop design up here. Okay, so those are the top panels, and we don't have these on right now because we don't want to put them on until this top piece is done, so we'll go over that in a second. And these are the bottom panels. The bottom panels don't have the little scallop design, and the tab system is actually inside of the panel area. So we've already done a little bit of pre-assembly, and when you cut all your pieces out, you're going to have 4 of these frame pieces. These pieces basically make up the frame or skeleton of the lantern. Okay, and again, these are going to be on top, or this piece is for the top part of the lantern. Again, you've got the little notches here extending beyond the frame. Okay, so you've got 2 of those. We're going to end up gluing those together. And then you have 2 for the bottom, and those are going to go together as well. Okay, so first thing that you're going to want to do is get all of your panels inked if you want to ink them. We used a little bit of distress ink just to kind of make it look a little more spooky. And you're also going to want to cut out the illustrations on vellum. Now you can either cut these with an X-Acto knife or just with some scissors, and you simply just want to cut along the edge. Okay, now I think Kyle prefers using an X-Acto knife. You can actually put this on a cutting mat so that it sticks and doesn't move on you. Maybe it'd be a little more precise. I think if you're just a tad bit off, it's not going to make a huge difference because you're not really going to see these edges once you mount these pieces into place. Okay, so just to get everything ready, go ahead and ink your panels, cut out your vinyl pieces, and we'll go ahead and begin assembling. I just accidentally called this vinyl. I meant to say vellum, okay? Now this piece here, with our nice little devilish character, with the little red perforated lines around it with the asterisk, this is an optional piece, okay? Now this lantern, it does come apart, okay? And you can take it apart to put your tea light in there if you'd like, of course an electronic tea light, but we left this door here for easy access, okay? So if you don't like this, I personally don't mind it. I like the fact that I can get in and out of there and swap the light out, but if you don't like it, you have this optional panel that you can glue on here to completely close it off. Now the actual original design, I believe, had all of them closed off, but we decided that rather than taking this thing apart each time you want to turn that light on and off, I think it'd be a lot more efficient if we just had a little hole or doorway for you to access that light. So anyway, I've got all of the illustrations cut out. Most of them are already pre-assembled. So let's go ahead and show you the assembly process. Okay, so I've already pre-assembled one of the bottom portions of the lantern. Okay, as you can see here, we've got the vellum already glued on. I have 2 of the panels on. I'll show you how one of the panels go together. And now as far as this one goes, you're going to take your illustration, and what you want to make sure you do when you have all these cut out, you want to make sure that you're using the right ones for the right part of the lantern. You don't want to use the illustrations that are designed for the top part because they're going to end up upside down. Okay, so just make sure that you're putting the right ones in place. So what we're going to do is just simply take some glue, and for this, what I would recommend doing is just kind of get an idea of where this thing's going to go. Okay, now you want to make sure that the illustration ends up below these tabs, or this little notch mechanism thing here. Okay, and that it's nice and centered. Okay, then you can kind of flip it over, just kind of remember where it is, and go ahead and put your glue on. Now you don't need a lot, especially with this vellum. Just be really careful about your placement. Okay. That should do the trick. Okay, and you want to make sure that you've got the right side going down. I'm going to pop that right on there. Scooch it down just a tad. Push down, take a quick peek on the other side and make sure it looks good. That looks awesome. Now we're actually using a brown paper this time because we kind of ran out of black. Okay. Now again, this is the little door for the electronic tea light, so I'm not going to put anything there. And basically you're going to repeat this process with the vellum until you've got it on every single, or on all 4 of these frame pieces. Okay, so go ahead and get all your vellum in place. So at this point, you only want to put the panels on the bottom of the lantern skeleton. Okay, so it's going to be these 2 pieces, and you know it's the bottom because these notches are actually inside the panel, where the top, the notches are actually outside of the panel or the frame of the actual piece. Okay, so with these, what we're going to do is, and again, if you want, you can ink your panels, and all you're going to do is just put glue on the back of each panel and line it up on the actual piece here. Now, you probably can't see this on camera, but there are some score lines down here to kind of help you guide and align these pieces. Now, obviously, you can use these little holes and this giant archway as a guide as well. You'll also want to make sure that this piece here lines up. Okay, these need to be right on top of each other. So we've given you tons of guides to use to make sure that these are aligned properly. So again, just put some glue on this, get that glued down to the frame, and you want to repeat that process for all of the bottom parts of the lantern. Okay, so you're going to have 5 total, actually 6 total that you're going to do right now, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now, actually, as you're doing this, make sure that you're putting some glue on this little notch here, okay? Because we want these notches to really stick together, because they're gonna keep this whole thing together for us as far as the lantern goes, and we want those pieces to absolutely be nice and stuck together. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just kind of putting my glue on, trying not to go too crazy, but trying to make sure that I'm getting all that coverage. And just make sure as you're putting the glue up here, don't go too high up where the scallops are. You want it just sort of below the scallop, because these scallops are going to be exposed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this guy glued down. And personally, I just like to look at these holes here and just make sure that those are all aligned properly, and just make sure that you kind of push down on these little notches and make sure that those get glued and that they stick real well. Okay, all right, so there's your panel. You're going to repeat that for the bottom of the lantern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more times. Okay, and then we can go ahead and move on to the next step. Okay, so we've got the vellum and the panels on the bottom part of our lantern. I'm going to take this tab here and do a nice mountain fold, so you're folding it away from you. Okay, and what we're going to do is actually we're going to connect these 2 pieces at this point here, and then once we get that connected, we're going to connect the other end like so. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue on this tab here. Okay, and as you can see, I'm using a piece of paper on my desk so I don't get glue everywhere. Just kind of aligning those as accurately as possible. I'm going to push down and let that get a grip. Do a little karate chop. Okay, give that just a few seconds to dry because it is going to be bending. So we want to make sure that that grabs a good hold. Okay. Now, again, when we're making these videos, sometimes we kind of rush through things so that you guys don't get bored, and occasionally the glue doesn't stick and it might come apart, but you know, put on some music and or a movie or something and just really take your time and just savor and enjoy this process, because it's so fun, and when it's done, you're gonna love the end result, and so is everyone else that sees it. All right, so that's holding on pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and put glue on this tab here, and it kind of shot out like crazy there. So I'm just gonna do some damage control. Okay. And I'm gonna close it up. Just make sure you align the end there, align the end there, try to make it as perfect as possible. Okay, now you can actually just kind of fold it like that and push down to really get it to grab. Okay, now we've got the formation. It's really coming to life now. Now we've got these tabs up here. Just gonna push these down. Okay, and we're gonna grab these hexagons. Okay, and again, take them, hold them together, and kind of find the one that's larger. Okay, this is a smaller one, so I'm going to put that on the side. And what we're going to do is we're going to just glue this guy right into place. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put glue down on these tabs. Okay, I've got the texture side up because I'm crazy like that. And do your best to kind of shift this thing around so that it's perfect on all sides. And then once it starts to get a semi-hold, you can go ahead and flip this guy over, push from the inside to really get that glue to stick. Getting pretty excited. All right, so that's in place. It's looking pretty sharp. Could even take some more distress ink down here if you want, totally up to you. I know you guys always like to put your own little touch on everything, so again, we're just giving you the foundation for an incredible project. What you do with it, it's up to you, and that's really the fun part of working with these files. So we're gonna grab the smaller hexagon, put some glue all over this bad boy, and pop him in the middle there. So not only does that kind of finish off the look, but it also makes the lantern more sturdy. Okay, so there you go. And this thing, once you get it together, it's incredibly durable. I think just for fun, after Kyle made the first prototype, I took this thing and I just threw it against the wall, and it was fine. All right, so the next step is basically repeating the same process of putting this thing together like we did with the bottom portion. So I'm not really gonna walk you through that. It's the same exact thing. You're gonna put glue here. You're gonna connect this, okay, let that dry, and then you're gonna put glue here and close it up. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the rest of it together. Okay, so at this point, we've got the top part of the lantern together. It's not completely assembled, but it's together. So now we're gonna grab this octagon with the little hole in it, and we're gonna grab the bigger one, okay, the wider one. So we're gonna take the smaller one, put it aside. And just like we did with the last part, the bottom part, okay, we're going to put glue on these tabs. Okay, now you'll notice that in the one I'm working on, we have a panel on there. You can just ignore that and pretend it doesn't exist. Okay, you don't have to do that. So again, just kind of place it and get it centered. Okay, so I'm just kind of adjusting this just to make sure that these edges are nice and symmetrical. Okay, and it's got a pretty good hold right now. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and just kind of push down from the inside. Okay, so just want to do that. Get that top piece on. Okay, that looks pretty good. And again, just like we did last time, make sure you put glue on the tabs as well as on the inside. Okay, and we're going to take the smaller piece. Keep your eye on this guy here. You want to make sure that it aligns with the other piece. Drop it in there. Center it. Push down. Okay, make sure it's got a good hold. And that looks great. Now again, you notice that we have this panel on here. You don't want that on there. You want to put it on now after we put this top piece on. So what you're going to do is you're going to take all these panels. We have them distressed. You can distress them if you want. You don't have to. And just like we did with the bottom of the lantern, you're going to put glue on the back and glue that to the front, making sure that you got everything nicely aligned, okay? And be sure to actually put glue on this actual tab system here too, okay? Because these need to stick together really well because they're basically keeping this thing together. So make sure you get some glue on there as well. Align everything, get it glued so that it's perfect, and just repeat that process all the way around with all 6 of the panels. Okay, so I've got 3 of the panels on. You're gonna have all of them on. And at this point, you're ready to put this thing together, okay? So only thing you wanna do is just keep your eyes on the illustrations, okay? You kinda don't want them to overlap too much, okay? You wanna just make sure they're kinda offset. Chances are you've put them on pretty randomly and they won't. And even if they do, it's not the end of the world. But at this point, all you're doing is you're taking these little tabs and just pushing them through the holes, just like that, okay? And they're just gonna grab just like that, okay? You just push them through until you hear them kind of click, sort of. I don't know if paper can make a click sound, but it kind of sounds like it's clicking. And you do that until you've got the whole thing put together. You can kind of pull them through if you need to. Once you get them fed, it kind of helps to just pull them through. So I've got 4 of them there, and just go around until you get all of them through, and eventually your lantern will look like this. And it's really sturdy. It's crazy how sturdy it is. And actually, while I have you, I'm going to show you this light. I think I showed this light in the video for our Christmas Paperscape box cards, but it's really cool because it actually changes color, and you can set what color you want. So when you put it in here, you know, a white tea light, actually white tea light, I don't think that they really exist in white. You're probably going to get more of a color like this when you get your tea light from like Michael or Joann's, but with these, you can actually increase the color temperature. And as you can see the difference there. It really gives it that brilliant orangey Halloween look. Okay, so we've got a link to this thing on the product list if you wanted to get one. They're super cool and not that expensive, and they're just really gonna add a lot to the final product. Now you can display this lantern on a table because it is flat, but again, we've included this little hanging mechanism here, and you've got these 2 donuts that you can glue together, or you actually don't even have to glue them together. You take your twine, you feed it through, okay, just tie a knot, and then you see that it kind of just stops, okay, and you want to cut your twine as long as you need it. Always cut extra, because you can always cut more later. If you don't cut it long enough, then you're going to end up with, you're going to have to basically add more on. But basically this just works like this. You take this, you slide it through like you're, putting money into a parking meter or something, and then you just lift and it grabs the sides, and that is your hanging mechanism. And that'll complete your lantern if you want to hang it from the ceiling or whatever. So, okay, so let's go ahead and assemble the Stingy Jacks Halloween Lantern number 2. And just real quick, I'm gonna go over the pieces and just talk about how everything works. You've got 2 of these. These just get glued together, okay? And that's gonna create the little mechanism that we use to kind of join these sides together, and it's got a little hanging mechanism built into it as well. So you want to go ahead and just put glue on this, get that glued, okay, and then put that off to the side. We're going to use that later. Now you're going to have 2 of these donut shapes, okay, so you're going to want to glue these together, and just like with our Stingy Jacks Lantern 1, you're going to feed twine through here, tie it, and we'll go over that later. Also, we have vellum, okay, printable vellum. We've got this cool gradient on here. So you're going to have 4 of these, so basically 2 pieces that you need to print out. You've got 4 of these total, 4 of these total, and you're going to want to cut all these out, okay, with scissors and get them ready. You can use an X-Acto knife if you'd like. Now we've also included an SVG file that will cut the vellum for you, but it's not a print and cut file. So if you have colored vellum that you want to use instead of the stuff that we're supplying, you can just use that SVG file to cut the vellum for you perfectly. Otherwise, you want to look for your PDF file that contains these printables, print them out on your inkjet, and then cut all these pieces out to get them ready for the actual lantern. So again, you're gonna have 4 of these and 4 of these. So go ahead and get all those cut out and prepared, okay? Now you've got 2 of these squares. One's larger, one's smaller. The larger one is gonna go on the bottom here, and the smaller one is just a liner and also used for reinforcement and strength. That's gonna go inside. Now, let me show you this here. This is 1/2 of the frame of the lantern, okay? And this is the other half, which we've already pre-assembled, okay? So really all you need to do to get this part of it ready is take these panel pieces, okay? These are panels, so you're gonna have 1 of these for each design on the bottom part of the lantern, and also 1 for the top design of the lantern. And all you're doing is you're gluing this right on top of the existing design in the frame. Just want to make sure that it's flush. Optionally, you can, if you'd like, you can distress and ink this or bling it out however you want. Ultimately, all you need to make sure is that you glue this right on top there, that it's nice and even with the perimeter, and that the design is perfectly on top of the design on the actual frame of the lantern. Now, as far as the order in which you do this, we found that it really doesn't make a difference. So if you want to put these panels on first, you can, or if you want to glue the vellum down first, you can do that as well, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and start with just putting the vellum down. All right, so I'm gonna show you the vellum portion here, okay? And really all we wanna do is we can put just little dabs of glue on the actual design. I don't think you wanna go too far out to the edge, because when you push down, it might spread some of that glue out, okay? All we're doing here is just making sure that that vellum sticks to this design so it doesn't flap around. But I don't think we need to go out too far to the edge. Just kind of give it a little bit of glue in the middle of these designs, just so it sticks better. And then of course you're going to want to put glue along the perimeter here as well, so that the vellum sticks nicely there. Okay, So we've got that. Now take a look and just make sure that the printed side is facing out, okay? And just get that aligned, do your best. Make sure that at least it's just covering the opening there. And push down. Make sure it's got a good hold. Okay, and just flip it over and make sure that it looks good. That looks awesome. Okay, so you're going to repeat that process with the vellum for all of these sections, including this section here. Okay, all right, so just really quickly, we're going to do one up here as well. And again, just a few small dabs on these actual designs so that it sticks there. And then just a really gentle line of glue around that perimeter. Okay. And again, printed side facing out. Just pop it on there. Make sure that you've got it covered, got the opening covered. Push down. You know, I kind of went a little crazy with the glue and missed the mark, but that's okay. Just make sure that it's got a good hold. Flip it around, and that looks good. Okay, so again, you're going to repeat that process until you've got the vellum on all 8 of these designs, okay? And then once you've done that, you can go ahead and glue these panels on. Now, technically, if you don't want to glue these on, you don't have to, because the lantern would still look cool, but I felt like adding this, especially if you distress this, just gives the lantern more dimension, okay? And I do recommend that you use it because it really gives it depth and dimension. It just really makes it pop, especially when there's a light illuminating through there. There's just more paper for it to just have that effect on. So again, optionally ink this, and then go ahead and actually you can just put, well, no, I would actually put the glue on this so that you don't end up with glue outside of the area that you need it on. Okay, so just really lightly, and we're going to flip that over. Get it lined up. Make sure that you've got it lined up nicely with the frame and everything, and that looks awesome. Okay, so again, you're going to repeat that process for all of these designs, and at that point you're going to have your entire lantern pretty much ready to be put together. Okay, so now actually for these panels here, you want to make sure that you get a little bit of glue on that little notch there, okay, because those notches, they need to stick well together like best friends, because they're going to make sure that the lantern is nice and sturdy when you hang it, okay, and it closes up properly. So I've got my glue on there. I'm going to go ahead and pop that right on there, kind of using the notch as a guide, as well as the bats, obviously. Okay, and that notch, I'm going to push down and hold that notch and make sure that that glue really sticks. Okay, all right, so we've got all of the vellum, all of the panels together. Now at this point, we can go ahead and attach the lantern, and form the lantern, I should say. And we're gonna do that by bending this tab back, okay? I'm gonna align these on my desk here. And just kind of look at and make sure that everything looks lined up. Okay, and we're going to simply take our glue, put a nice line of glue there, fold that over and hold it so that it gets a good grip. Okay, so we're going to glue this to that. Okay, so I've got that tab glued, okay, and I'm obviously missing the vellum here, but that's okay. Yours is going to be complete with all of the vellum pieces in place as well as the panels. Okay, so we've got that in place, and basically we're going to take this and fold it over. We're going to take this tab here, and just like we just did with the other tab, we're going to put glue here, and we're going to glue this like so. Okay, now once you have it lined up and you have the glue on there, you can kind of pinch this and fold it and then press down to actually get it to stick. So let's do that real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and get the glue on there. Oh, I am getting sloppy. Luckily this stuff dries clear, so it's not the end of the world. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get that lined up. Push down, just kind of hold it there and let it dry. I found with this glue, if you do get a little crazy with it, kind of just rub it like that. It seems to get rid of the excess. I'm not sure if I'm absorbing it or if I'm just rubbing it in or what, but there you can see we've got the lantern formed. It's looking awesome. Okay, so at this point, all that's left to do is put the base on it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is take these tabs and fold them in. Okay, and we're gonna grab our squares here, grab the larger one. Oops, I am out of control. And we've got texture side up. We're gonna put glue on these tabs and put that into place. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop that in place. Do your best to get that aligned. Give it just a second to get an initial grip. Okay, and kind of if you need to push things around a little bit just to kind of get it nice and centered, that's fine. And then flip it over and stick your hand in there. And actually didn't put that vellum piece on there on purpose so that you guys could see my hand inside. Okay, so I'm just kind of pushing that down. It's got a good grip. I'm gonna open these up a little bit because we need to put our little finishing piece in. Okay, texture side up. We'll give this a nice coat of glue. And we're just gonna slide that in there. And I'll just push down. Give it a fist bump. Okay, it's looking good. And at this point, the lantern is formed. Can kind of close these up a little bit. And we're gonna take these pieces here, which, as I mentioned earlier in the video, you're gonna wanna glue together. And again, make sure you give these little tabs a little love with the glue because they need to come together as one. You're gonna keep that thing closed and together, okay? And actually, you wanna make sure that these notches or this little slit lines up too for the middle part. Okay, so just kind of keep your eyes on that. And get that excess glue off there. Do your best to get that aligned as perfectly as possible. Push down. Okay, so you've got this piece ready to go. And at this point, all you really need to do is take these little tabs, push them through the slits until they kind of snap into place. Okay. All four sides. And there she is. So she is ready to go, and she is ready to hang or just display on a table. So again, with this lantern, you can obviously use it on a table, or because we included that cool little hanging mechanism, you just grab your twine. You always want to grab more twine than you need. I mean, within reason, obviously. And you're going to take these, you have two of these donut shapes. You're going to glue them together. Just kind of makes it a little more sturdy. You're going to feed your twine in there, knot it, and when you pull it through, it's going to hold basically. And then we just take this and slide it through that little slot. And then as we pull it back up, it's going to grip. And you've got your lantern. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and assemble Stingy Jack's Halloween lantern number 3. And just real quick, I just want to go through some of the pieces here just so that you guys have an understanding of what's what. Now, your download is going to come with a PDF file that contains 2 sheets of this printable vellum. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is print this out on your printer and cut this out with either an X-Acto knife or some scissors, okay, because these are going to go back on each of these panels. They're going to go on the back of each of these panels, okay, and so you want to get those ready, okay. And each of these final panels consists of the following pieces. Okay, you've got this little frame piece here, which you can barely see because the vellum is on there, but that's that piece there. Of course, you've got the panel itself with the design on it, okay, and the vellum, obviously. And then you've got these pieces here, okay, and now this piece here is going to go on the bottom, just like so. Okay, and then we also have this sinister looking piece. It's going to go right up at the top. Now, as you can see in this one, we've taken and actually inked the entire face of this little sinister piece, but we left this one alone. Okay, we didn't ink that. And we also did the same with this piece, but left this one alone. So it kind of creates this embossed dimension that really just makes this lantern pop even more. Obviously, you're welcome to do whatever you want with these pieces. You can leave them as they are, but I really think that you know, inking them really just kind of gives it that extra depth and dimension. And same goes with the actual design panels. Those are inked. You can do that if you'd like, or you can just do, you know, just basically make it the way you envisioned it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the assembly of one of these panels first. And basically you're going to repeat this process until you have all 6 of these panels assembled. Okay, so again, this panel's made up of these pieces here, as well as these little embellishments, and then of course our piece of vellum. Now, if you take a close look, you'll see that, well, there is a score line here for the tab, okay, which we want to fold and just kind of get into place. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've just kind of folded that, that tab just so that I kind of know where it is. And the reason I'm having you do that is because there's also an additional score line inside that area, okay, and then there's also a tiny little score line there. And what that's for is to help you align this panel on top of that little structure piece. So you basically, you don't really need those score lines because in the end, it's just going to be centered on that piece. And you basically want to make sure that as far as vertical alignment goes, that you kind of just have it aligned where this thing starts to kind of curve, or this part of the panel starts to curve. Okay, and then once you have that, you'll notice that at the bottom, it's aligned where this little scallop begins to curve or begins to form. Okay, so that is how it should be aligned. So you're going to want to go ahead and glue your panels on this structure piece, and you want to do all 6 of them. Another cool reason that we added that score line was to kind of help you position the glue so you don't kind of go outside of that area. So we want to just kind of try to stay pretty close to the interior of that. And then actually down here doesn't matter so much. You can go ahead and give it a nice layer of glue. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and again, using those guidelines, making sure that I think the best thing to do is just to use that top part where that begins to curve as a reference point as to where to place this thing. Okay. So that looks pretty good to me. Let me get this excess glue out of here. And just hold it down until it gets a good grip. Okay, so that's what that should look like. Okay, and now I'm gonna grab this piece here and kind of show you what we did. And I mean, literally this entire thing was inked, not just around the edges, but on the inside too. You're gonna get your fingers a little dirty here, so I don't know if you want to wear a glove or just get messy. It's kind of fun to get messy. All right, that was just a nice little light inking or distressing, whatever you want to call it. And then pop some glue on the back of this thing. Try to get a little bit of glue all over it. Okay, and then do your best to center that. Okay. Get that excess glue off of there. And then that is going to go down here. You're basically using the little scallop here as a reference to where to glue that. Okay, so that's going to go right there. You're going to repeat the same process with the sinister alien looking embellishment or accent piece here. You're going to glue that up there. Okay, so that's in place, that's in place. We've got the panel on the frame. The last step for this completed panel is to add the vellum. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut one of these out. And in your download, this is a PDF file that you just print out on vellum. Okay, and it'll actually print out this cool gradient design for you, but as an alternative, we've included an SVG file that will actually cut these out of vellum for you if you have like a specific type of vellum or a specific color that you would rather use. Okay, so you want the printed side facing out. This side, I can tell, is a little bit less saturated and vibrant. So I know that this is the printed side, and you're just going to kind of get an idea of where it's going. Okay, and we're going to put glue on the frame here, just right on the border. Okay, I'm going to push this down. Sure that you at least have it covering the opening of the design. And you can see that I kind of went a little crazy with the glue on that side there, but if you kind of rub it, it dries and then it flakes off. So that's kind of a cool little trick. Okay, we'll push that down. Let's take a look. That looks great. Okay, so we've got one panel complete. You want to go ahead and repeat that same process with all 6 panels. And of course, again, mine's not glued on, but yours are also going to have these cool little accent pieces as well. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go ahead and start assembling the base of the lantern. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and show you how to assemble some boxes. Now, this box that we're assembling right now is the base of the lantern, okay? But there are also 2 additional boxes that we've already pre-assembled that make up basically a support system that is going to go inside of certain parts of this lantern, and we'll show you where those go. But the process of putting these together is exactly the same as this, so we're only going to show you this. So you've got these two perimeter pieces here, and what we're going to do, and I've already started putting glue on this, we'll put some glue on this little triangle here, and we're going to basically glue it to the other end of this. Just make sure that it's nice and lined up. And I'm getting a little sloppy. Okay, get that lined up. Let it sit for a minute. Make sure it gets a good hold. I've kind of figured out this trick to fix my sloppy work, just rubbing the glue off. And this being a Halloween project, it's almost kind of cool if it's not perfect, but I'll just fix that right up, okay? So I've got that glued. Now what we're going to do is form a box, and I'm going to pop some glue on this triangle, this triangular little tab piece, and we're going to close it up. Just make sure you've got it nice and lined up. Just grab two fingers and just hold it until it dries. So it's got a good hold so far. Just rubbing this excess glue off. And what we're going to do is we're going to push these tabs in. And I'm going to go ahead and put glue on all four of these. Okay, take this texture side up, place it right on there, make sure it's nice and centered, give it just a few seconds to grab initially, kind of scooch it around, make sure that it's nice and flush with the edge. We're going to flip it over, push from the inside to really get it to hold. Just kind of work your way around. Okay, and that looks awesome. Okay, so we've got half of the base assembled. Now, again, you're going to go through the same process. Obviously, you're going to close this up, but not for this piece, for this reinforcement or support piece. Okay, so this is another box that we've created, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put glue on this entire thing here. This is not going to be visible, so it doesn't matter how it looks. And we're just going to pop that right inside and center it, okay, because that's just going to add some additional support to the base of our lantern. Now, our friend Ron Gutman actually uses foam core, and he puts it in here, and he says that that works for him. Now, not everybody has that, but if you do, you can use that. But we're okay with just using the paper. And actually, another cool thing about having this piece in there is that when you put this piece on, it kind of helps to make that stick, because if that piece wasn't there, this would kind of want to push in even more. So it's kind of multi-purpose. Okay, so we're going to put glue all over this guy here, and take this piece and pop it right on top. And while it still hasn't got its initial hold, you can kind of scooch it around, make sure that it's nice and flush on all four sides, and push down until it gets a nice hold. Okay? I don't know why I get so excited to make simple boxes, but it's so rewarding. Okay, so basically what we've done is we've created this piece here, okay, and if you want, you can go ahead and take some distress ink, just ink this thing up and get that ready for the next step. Okay, so we've got the base all done. You've also created that support piece that's inside, and we have this support piece that you've already created based on the instructions for that. Now we're going to go ahead and basically do the same thing we did with the box, but with a different shape. So we've got a hexagon shape here. And again, you've got these two pieces, okay? And just like with the box, you're gonna glue these pieces together, let that hold, okay? The little triangle is gonna go inside so it's not exposed on the outside. And you're gonna wrap it around. Now these, obviously, you want to fold. These are gonna be valley folds. Okay. You got score lines there to help with the precise folding. And I'm gonna go ahead and fold this little tab here. I'm gonna get some glue on it. That's good. Get these guys out of the way and just align that as precisely as you can. Push down and hold. Make sure that gets a good grip. And again, it's inside, so if you make a little bit of a mess, no one's gonna see it. Okay, you've got a nice 90-degree angle there. Okay, and we're going to close it up by repeating the same exact process. So we're just gonna grab the glue and make sure you've got it nice and lined up there. Give it a second to grip. I want to make sure that those pieces stay together. And I'm really pushing there just to kind of create a lot of force to get that glue cemented in there so it doesn't move. And I'm just going to rub that. Make that stuff come off there. Okay. All right, so we've got the basic formation of our hexagon. I'm kind of just bending it to train it. Okay, and these two pieces here are identical. Texture side up. What we're going to do is we are going to put glue on all of these tabs. Get it nice and trained so that this piece goes on that much easier. Texture side up. And you're going to kind of, as you're putting this down, you want to kind of just scooch it around to help it grab the correct shape. Give it a few seconds to get its initial grip. And then once you've done that, you can flip it over and push down from inside to make sure that that glue really gets a grip. Get a grip, glue. Okay. That's coming together awesome too. Kind of push that in. All right, so we've got our hexagon. Now we're going to take this other support piece that we created. Go crazy with the glue here. No one's going to see this piece. And we're just going to pop that right in the center. Okay, again, it's going to help with support, and it's also going to help us place this piece. Okay, so I'm just kind of running my fingers along the edge here, and everything is fitting together perfectly. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get our glue on here. Okay, kind of helps a little bit if you push these tabs out, because when you push this down, I feel like it's going to get a better hold on this top piece. Okay, so there's that. I can push in the middle too, because we've got that support piece. Just kind of scooch things around, make sure that we've got it nice and level and centered and flush all the way around. Okay, so we've got our hexagon piece done. We've got the base done. Now what we can go ahead and do is assemble the panels and get the top part of the lantern put together. So let's go ahead and transition and do that. Okay, so at this point, we've got our hexagon, and you're going to have all of your panels with all your decorations and all your vellum all complete. Now I have most of mine complete. There's a few missing some vellum and some embellishments, but we're gonna pretend that all of yours are complete like this, okay? So what I would do is take a look at your hexagon and figure out which one or which side you think looks better. I probably think that side looks better. So that's gonna be top facing for me. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take one of these panels and you're gonna put glue basically down here underneath where this tab is and no lower than where this frame is. So you've got this entire area here that you can put glue on, okay? And you wanna make sure that you get some good coverage on there, because that's gonna need to really hold, okay? And you're simply gonna use this as a guide. And actually this bottom piece here, the frame piece of this panel should be flush with the bottom of the hexagon. Okay, so we're gonna push that down and give that a second to hold. Okay, so we've got our first piece on, and basically we're gonna go ahead and rotate this and use that as a support, little support system. Okay, and we're gonna grab our next piece. And now this time, you're gonna do the same exact thing, except we're gonna also add glue to this tab here. So as we're putting this down, we're going to make sure that that's flush, and also grab that and glue that into place as well so that they kind of hold together. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my glue here. Okay, when I do that, just put a nice little gentle line of glue right on there. Make sure you go to the edge. Okay, and go ahead, again, using that tab there as a guide. Okay, and grab that, get your hand in there. Glue that in place. Okay, and that's holding on real good too. Make sure that's nice and level. Still hasn't totally grabbed, so you got a few seconds to really get a good grip on it. And you can actually put this down just like that. Use your fingers now to get these two pieces into place. Okay, so I've got two of these panels assembled, okay, and on the actual hexagon base. So what you're gonna do is just repeat that process a few more times, 4 more times to be exact. And again, we're going to put glue in this little area here. And we're also gonna put glue on this tab. Okay. Using the bottom of this and the bottom of this, making sure that we're getting that aligned. And take a look on the other side here too, and make sure that that is nice and aligned. Kind of push that down and hold it for a minute, make sure that part grabs. Okay, and then you can take this and flip it down. Make sure this is aligned and then push this tab down. And make sure that that grips. So go ahead and repeat that process until you get to that last piece. Okay, so we've got the majority of the lantern top assembled. Okay, and occasionally you may need to train the paper a little bit just to kind of maintain its shape. And it's looking really cool. Now this last part is pretty much the same, except that there's 2 tabs to glue, okay? So this one doesn't have the vellum on it, but I know where it needs to go as far as the glue goes. Okay, so I'm gonna put the glue there. I'm also gonna put, and honestly, I think we just discovered during this video that this process is so much easier and so much more accurate if you're sitting. So hopefully when you guys craft, you sit. When you do these assembly videos, typically standing, and I feel like the glue is not as precise, so it gets a little more messy. But I'm going to put some glue on that piece as well, okay? And again, we've got the glue there. So just like before, you're going to use that little tab as a reference. Make sure that it's nicely aligned. And just make sure that that part grips first. Okay, so this is taking hold. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this on its side and get this tab glued. You can stick your hand in there and push that down so that it grips, and then we're also going to rotate it one more time and get that final tab to glue down to his neighbor. Okay, so we've got the actual shade of the lantern put together. So that really is probably the most challenging part, and it's really not too bad. Just take your time, be patient, and just follow the guidelines that we gave you during this video, and I'm sure you too will have a successful end result. So we're going to put that aside for now. And again, we already have the base. So what we're going to do is actually create the little middle part of this lantern, and that's actually going to be pretty easy. Okay, so to create that part, you've got 4 of these pieces. Now 2 of them are already pre-assembled. Now keep in mind when you're putting this together that this will form a 90-degree angle, okay? So you want to make sure that as you're assembling it, that it's creating a nice 90-degree angle here, okay? And the rest of it will just kind of fall into place. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take these pieces which are not joined together yet, and I'm going to actually start at the bottom, because that way I'm sure that I've got a nice 90-degree angle, and then everything else should just fall into place. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start by putting glue on this tab here. Okay, and I'm going to glue it to its neighbor, making sure that I've got everything nice and aligned. Okay, just going to kind of hold it there. And again, these need to form a 90-degree angle. Okay, so you can actually push this down on the table. Make sure it grips. Got a little bit of glue come out of there. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and put glue on this tab and then on this tab and just kind of close up that shape. Okay, so just make sure that these are nice and aligned. Just kind of push in from the inside, make sure those tabs, that tab is getting a good grip. Just rub off any excess glue that's trying to escape. Okay, and then grab this piece up here, do the same thing. Make sure that that grabs. Okay, so this is what it should look like when you have those 2 pieces put together. So basically you're going to repeat this process until you have all 4 sides together. Okay, so I've got the 3rd piece going on, and again, as I'm forming this and gluing all these pieces together, I'm trying to keep in mind that the base of this is all perfect 90-degree angles, so make sure that, you know, it's basically square at the bottom, and then everything else should just naturally line up. And make sure you're doing your best to kind of make sure that all these edges are lined up as best as you can. So now we've got everything together except for the last part, and literally it's the same exact process. You're going to put glue on these tabs and you're just going to close it up. Okay, so we've got this structure complete. Okay, so we've got this structure complete. What we're going to go ahead and do is close it up on top Okay, so I'm just gonna put glue on these 4 tabs. I'm trying to go out to the outside edges too much because when you push this down, sometimes that glue wants to squirt out. And just push that down. Okay, and you can flip it over. If you've got a tool, you can kind of push it in there, give it a better grip. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to pull these out a little bit, and you're going to put glue on this guy here, and I'm going to pop him right on there. Now technically, you're not going to see this part because it's going to be on the base, but I think this will actually just give it a little bit more support and help with to maintain the form of this piece, okay? Okay, so at this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these panels on this structure, and that's actually gonna help us with the placement of this structure onto the base, as well as the placement of this structure onto the actual lamp shade. Okay, so there are score lines on this piece here, and there are also 2 sets of score lines on this piece. So you wanna go ahead and bend them as so, okay? And what we're gonna do is, just so that you kind of get an idea of where this goes, when you bend this and fold it, this piece here, the bottom of this, needs to be flush with the bottom of the base of this structure, okay? So that is gonna basically show you where that needs to be glued, okay? And this is gonna stick off, but as long as this is flush, I hope you can see that. This needs to be flush, okay? And that's where this is gonna be glued. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our glue, just get a nice amount of glue on there, and just kind of use your fingers to help guide you to make sure that this is flush with the bottom. Kind of go bird's eye view and make sure that that looks nice and flush and that this is centered in between this structure. Kind of scooch it over a little bit if you need to. Okay, I'm just going to push that down, and that looks good to me. Okay, so that's nice and flush. So you're going to repeat that process for all 4 sides. Now with these pieces, the concept is basically the same. You want to align it so that when it's aligned, this is flush with the top of this structure as well. Okay, so you can go ahead and actually put glue here and here, okay, because we're not trying to maintain or create some illusion of curvature. This is just a nice panel, and we got the glue on there. I'm gonna go ahead, and again, I'm using my finger as sort of a guide to help me position this. I'm going to just make sure that when I run my finger across here, that it's flush. Okay, I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Just kind of running my finger there and just making sure that that's flush, and then the rest of it will just fall into place. You'll know exactly where it needs to go. Okay, so as you can see, that is what it should look like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just show you this process all the way around. So I'm placing glue on here, and you can use your finger as a guide, or you can just use the table as a guide, because this is flat and this is also flat. Okay, so we know that that's flush. It's going to help us with the alignment. And also, as you can see here, once you get these all in place, they should come together at this point here and create a very seamless look. Okay, this should just kind of join together like a little puzzle piece. And that's how you know that you've got it lined up right. Okay, so that one's sitting really pretty right now. I'm going to go ahead and do the last piece. All right, so I've got all 4 of the panels glued on of the bottom of the structure. I'm going to flip it over on its head, and I'm going to go ahead and place glue on this panel. Okay, and again, instead of using my fingers, Just gonna go ahead and use the table as a guide to make sure that that bottom part is flush. And then I'm just gonna work my way up, making sure that it's nice and centered on that structure. Give it a second to grip. Okay, so we've got 2 of them on there. You're gonna repeat that process for the other 2. Okay, so I'm just putting that final piece on here, making sure that, again, this piece is flush with the top of this structure. And then as I'm gluing this, I'm just kind of going around and making sure that these panels all line up and they're all kind of on the same plane. Okay, and everything's looking pretty good so far. So we've got this piece pretty much done. We've got all the panels on it. It's looking really good, actually. And at this point, all that's left to do is just glue the actual shade on the top and then glue this to the base. Okay, so as you can see here, what we're gonna do is we're going to basically just put glue on these sections here as well as here. And we're gonna push that down and glue it down. And as you're doing that, you can kind of scooch these panels in so that they're all within the border of the base, okay? And you just hold that while it's drying. And then finally, you can take and just generously apply glue on this section here. You put glue here. This is what really needs to stick. Okay. Just go crazy with the glue. And what you want to do is actually make sure that you're taking one of these edges, okay, and aligning it with a corner. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that you've got it as centered as possible. You can kind of stick your hand in there to get that aligned. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then kind of flip this over and push down on these little flower looking tabs, or these panels I should say, and make sure that those grip as well. Hopefully you can see that. Let me move this out of the way. I didn't glue that on purpose so that you could see this process here. Okay. So those are holding nicely. Okay. And again, this part would already be glued for you, but there is your final lantern. Well, I hope you guys had a ton of fun putting these lanterns together. I know I did. And I know for a fact they're gonna be a huge hit at my next Halloween party, as I'm sure they will be at yours as well. So if you do get a chance to put these lanterns together, we'd love to see what yours end up looking like. So post a photo to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and use the hashtag that you see on your screen right now. And we're gonna actually look for photos featuring that hashtag and consider them for inclusion in our Dreamers Gallery. And you'll also be qualified to win some fun prizes, including gift cards to Dreaming Tree or 3dsvg.com. So thanks for crafting with me, and I'll see you next time.